And I thought Christians are second level. So talking to me in that manner, he was really disrespect, and I was offended because he spoke to me in a manner that wasn't worthy, because he was a little lower level than I was as a Muslim.
Yes.
So. Any other comments?
Oh no, let's go. Let's finish up.
All right. So you are in the second home, the good lady. She walks 4 miles a day. And what the exposure of Christianity in this house now?
Now, she was not into TV. She was older generation, but she was into social Christianity. She got together with people at church, mostly elderlies, and they had a bridge club, ice cream club, you know,
do they play
cakes
bingo?
And pies. Yes, and I entered oven to every one of them, and I loved it, eating and learning all the sweets.
What do you love in
the
American food?
Oh yeah, I cheesecake.
A cheesecake, all right.
I never had cheesecake before until they introduced it to me.
All right.
Just the idea of cheese and sweet.
Did you question yourself, has pork in it?
I used to ask all the time. Every time they fix something, I would say, is that pork in it? And you got to a point that everybody was laughing at me. They said, we know what you're going to ask. No or yes. So, but she was more in social. She was very strongly moral person. But again, I never saw her reading the Bible or studying it, and I gathered that she was not a practicing Christian as I was a practicing Islam, because I still continue my prayers, but I thought, well, I can influence her for Islam. She's a good woman. She's a good lady. She's a grandmother. She's a mother. Maybe I can win her to Islam.
Yes.
But she was very fun-loving, and she used to say, I'm an Irish. I'm just a fun-loving girl. So I did go to church with her, and in her church, no one told me I was going to hell or questioned anything
or
of any
talk
kind.
to you about Christ even.
No Christ.
No evangelism.
No, I went to the socials, church socials.
All right.
As a matter of fact, I got used to them. They had a routine in their church. They got there, sang 3 songs, sit down, sang 2 songs, then sit down again, and then the preacher preached something. It was way over my head.
All right.
I tell you that, I couldn't understand a lot of them. But every now and then I would go with them, but it was mostly for social, and I enjoyed it because I learned a lot about the culture of American people and their food and their history, because elderly have a way of talking about past, and you get to learn some things you didn't know.
I'm going to stop here and get a break and come back again. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back shortly. Stay with us.
The sun cannot compare to the glory of your love. There is no shadow in your presence. No mortal man would dare to stand before your throne, before the Holy One of heaven. It's only by your blood, and it's only through your mercy. Lord, I come. I bring an offering of worship to my King. No one on earth deserves the praises that I sing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Jesus or Muhammad, and tonight's title, From Revolution to Revelation, and with us today David Wood and also Mr. Mohran. And I'm going to continue with the second home and what's your experiences in this. Then I'll go to David and come back to you.
Sure. As I mentioned, I was living very comfortably there, and I didn't have a whole lot of problems. I was learning English. I was going to school, and I really didn't have anybody approaching me as far as Christianity or Jesus Christ. And so, but there's something happened at that era that changed a lot of things for me and for Iranians in the United States, and that was this hostage crisis. In 1980, 1979 actually, hostage crisis took place. As you remember, Iranian militants took American embassy hostage, and it was a very dark time for Iranians in the United States of America. They practically were underground. We were trying to hide because many people were after us to harm us who didn't understand what's going on. They looked at us when they saw Iranians on TV burning American flags and spitting on it, stomping on it, and saying death to America. They looked at us as we are students and we're just like them. So we had a lot of threats, and people were, some of the people who want us to go back, and the government tried to deport all of us, and they did deport many. So at that time, I kind of drew together with some Iranian friends who knew at university. And usually in a time of dilemma in your life, you like to pull together with those who are like-minded. So that's what I did. And so I didn't really hang around church.
So you
left
this house that you're living in? Or
no, I was still living there.
Oh, all right.
But I didn't go to church, you know, because even at the church there were some people who didn't want to shake my hand anymore, and
Wow.
they would call me towelhead and you know, stuff like that. They didn't understand, but I thought, well, you know, I'm not going there. So I stayed away from it. And then shortly after that, as we're still trying to cope with the attitude of people in America, you know, not everybody. There were some people who were understanding, but the attitude was very hostile. And shortly after that, the war between Iran and Iraq started. So all of that at the same time, and that is when I lost a lot of communication with my family, because they were living to the southern part of Iran, and as you remember, Saddam Hussein had his troop move in to the southern part of Iran, and so my family, the house was bombed, and they had to flee to the northern part of Iran. So we lost communication, and therefore I lost my finances. And as a student, full-time student, I was not allowed to work. Therefore, I had to have a job permit. So I wanted to, I remember I wanted to kind of write a letter home, and I wrote a letter home and tried to be funny. Back then this was popular. I said that to my father. I said, no man, no fun, your son. And you know, the story is he writes back and he says, too bad, so sad, your dad. Because you know, that was the story. He couldn't get me any money.
All right. David, do you have any comments or any questions, any thoughts about what
I have a quick question about, because I was only 4 years old when there was this the hostage crisis and so on, and the war. Was there a negative attitude towards people in the Middle East at large? In other words, most Americans wouldn't know the difference between someone from Iran, someone from Iraq, or even from Saudi Arabia. Most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So was there an anger specifically towards people from Iran, or did people during this time just get mad at anyone from the Middle East area?
At the beginning, they didn't know the difference between Iranian or Iraqi or Egyptians. But then on TV, 24/7, it was Iran, Iran, Iran. And after a while, the people began to focus and understand it's Iranians that are the enemy. So, yes, at the beginning we were kind of safe, but I remember one incident that was the first time I drove on the snow, and I got in a ditch. And this couple of guys stopped by to help me out. It was in a truck. And the back of the pickup truck in Iraq was a shotgun. And when I saw that, I was sitting in my car in the ditch, and they came on top, and he hollered at me. He said, "You need help?" I looked back, I said, "Yes." And he saw me, what I looked. And they've seen Iranians on TV. And he says, "Where are you from, boy?" And I remember I looked up, and I said, "Egypt." And he said, "Well, you guys are okay." He helped me out. The reason was because I knew when the way he was asking me that he wanted to know if I was Iranian or not, and I thought I'm probably going to die there, you know, in the ditch.